Welcome to Tech Abilities, produced live in the Blind Abilities studio. I want to thank all of you for listening and for sending in your feedback. It's well appreciated. And if you want to send us some feedback, give us a call at 612-367-6093. Leave a message. We'd love to hear from you. Or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the tech tidbits and news that we cover in this episode. And you can use chapters. If your podcast player of choice has the chapters feature, go ahead, nibble away at this episode, or take it all in one big meal. That's the way it was designed. And chapters work good, and we love to make that feature available. So without further ado, let's get this show started.
That's the way I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta get this right.
It just baffles me.
HomePod Mini.
Wow. Whoa.
I'm a nerd.
Huge.
I use that a lot.
It's head scratching.
I wish someone interrupted my training and set me aside and gave me a lot more reason to use Braille.
And it bothered me so much.
Good Lord, the battery life on the 13 Pro Max is pretty ridiculous.
Spatial audio.
Spatial audio. The $20 cloth. Really? Really, guys?
They say it's
Okay.
revolutionary.
Of course it is.
You could be in a conversation with an intelligent person in your house. How many times does someone turn to fact check and go, hey,
we do it all the
G-person."
time.
Either of you understand this, that I'm a Apple user, and here we're talking about the event, and you both are PC people?
Yeah.
Have you been listening to this whole last conversation, Jeff?
All right, live from Blind Ability Studio, this is Tech Abilities. Welcome to the show, and welcome, Serina. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Jeffrey. How are you?
Ooh, I miss that, Jeffrey, once in a while. Not third person. I mean, never
You
mind.
miss yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. This could be a long podcast already if we go
Really
there.
could. That multiple personalities coming out over there.
Yeah. We's here in Fridley, Minnesota. Jesse Anderson from Minnesota. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there too. Wondering if we're going to get the storms coming here again. It was thundering earlier out and definitely is getting colder, unfortunately. But, I'm doing pretty good.
1 year ago today, we had that snowstorm.
Did we?
Yeah. I don't make this up.
Linear time is meaningless right now. Like, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're going to kick it off with an event that happened just over a week ago. It was the Unleashed event from Apple. I kind of liked it. The Mac Mini in a pod.
And some weird Apple Music news.
We could start a little song, can't we? Like Mac Mini in a pod.
Yeah, we got to talk about that Siri
Jesse feels
thing.
very
That
strongly about
blew
that.
my mind.
They started out with the music, and it was interesting. They had the HomePods Minis.
The AirPods.
Well, the AirPod 3s.
3s, yes.
Do they count, though? I mean, it's like a hybrid between a Pro and the version 2, and
It's the same price as the version 2.
there's no tips. One size fits all.
My husband said he's interested in them, though, so they must be intriguing to some people. I mean, if your AirPods are... He has AirPods
Chucky.
1, though.
Oh, well.
He gets all my hand-me-down headphones. So his batteries might be degrading now, I mean, I bought those a few years ago, so...
See, I was trying to figure out what the difference between those, because I know they're not the Pros, but they're, just AirPods or something.
No noise reduction, no transparency. None of that.
But it does have spatial audio on the new one.
Yeah, I saw that it had the spatial audio. That was the one thing, so I was really trying to figure out what the difference was between the Pros and these.
Probably going to reduce the latency, because I know when I went from my AirPod 1s to the AirPod Pros, the latency with voiceover was barely noticeable. Whereas, on the first generation, it was hard to even type on it because the latency would just throw you off. But it's a significant difference.
Wait for it. Latency.
Yeah, I've had Bluetooth headsets that have been really bad with that,
Yep.
with the latency. Yep.
I think the AirPod Pros are really good. I think these are going to be really good. So if people like that fit that they had before, without the tips, the silicone tips, go for it. Myself, I've gotten used to the tips being on there because I don't even have to think about them as much.
Well, and that transparency mode, I think, is what makes them, the AirPod Pros, so distinct. Because I used to not be able to walk around the house and clean with regular AirPods on. Because you forget how much you use your sense of hearing when your vision is impaired. But then I couldn't blast my AirPod Pros and walk around because you still, even with transparency mode, you're like still not going to get that transparency. I can listen to an audiobook or a Netflix show or something like that while I walk around the house and clean and not fear that I'm going to get a little bit turned around because of not being able to kind of hear things.
Yeah, it's really something, especially when the music stops and the transparency is still on. And all of a sudden you take them off, it's like, whoa, the house goes quiet. So it is quite a trip.
And I'm kind of waiting. I know they're doing stuff with the Beats line still. I don't know to what degree, with like the AirPods, the actual headphones. Like, I really don't want to pay $550, but if they could come down, if they had a pair of actual headphones that had maybe the transparency, the 3D audio, that kind of a thing, or the spatial audio. That might be something that I would be more interested in because I just really don't like sticking things in my ears. So if they came up with like a lighter version of that.
I agree. I would love a lighter version of the AirPod Maxes. And gosh, the last ones came out there was no event. They just kind of came out. Remember, Jeff?
Yeah.
It was a birthday gift that I got, and Jeff's heard this story. Because Charles took them back for me when I was like, they're just too heavy. I'm not going to use them. And the Apple employees not the employees, but the other people in line were like, oh, she's so ungrateful. I'm like, what in the world, you guys? These are horrible. They're just not my cup of tea.
I was really talking about more of a price decrease more than a heavy. I mean, you thought those were heavy. I've got these like industrial size cans that I use for like music and when I'm on the bus, and those things are like military grade titanium or something.
I just don't know how to describe it. I think it's the heaviest pair of headphones I've ever put on.
I felt like I was an astronaut or something. I just felt like I was in a different place and not with the people. And they're big enough that people would think that you're not paying attention to them, and they wouldn't understand that you can hear them perfectly. But it was just,
they're huge.
It was almost intrusive to my space, my aura,
That's the way I like it.
Yeah.
And even the way the band is across the top, it's just, I felt awkward in them.
I wear big headphones a lot.
They have come down. If you go to like Best Buy, I think you can get them for like $100 off.
Oh, you know what? Apple's Black Friday is coming up. That's the only time that they put their stuff on sale. I bet you can get them then.
You get a $100 gift card if you buy a $4,000 MacBook.
It's probably more like a $250 for that. Yeah.
I've got enough headphones as it is right now. I have so many pair of headphones in my apartment. It's borderline ridiculous.
I feel like if you don't have 29 pairs of headphones, are you really blind?
I am sure I have well over a dozen.
Yeah.
Well, now you could have 5 different colors. They added 3 more colors to the I got to get this right. The HomePod Minis.
HomePod Mini. Yeah.
I think that's the only upgrade to them, isn't it?
Yeah, they just have different colors. And I have to share, like I said, I talked to Jeff about this before we all hopped on. And I was like, so there was the audio description where it's like, they zoom into a living room with a HomePod Mini on the coffee table. And it bothered me so much because they specifically said the coffee table was in the middle of the room and the HomePod Mini was on it. And I'm like, it's not plugged in. Like, where is it plugged into? Even if there's a plug in the middle of the room, are you telling me there's a hole in the middle of the coffee table as well? Like, come on. Anyways.
And one of the best ways to experience it is with HomePod Mini. To tell you more, here's Dave.
We fly up above Tim to look down on the round, flat roof of Steve Jobs Theater. The roof transforms into the backlit touch surface of a HomePod Mini. The HomePod Mini sits on a coffee table in a living room in the set of a house.
Nobody puts their HomePod in the middle of their coffee table. It's not realistic.
Way to spoil this event.
It's the little things. Sorry.
Oh, man. But it's out there, $99. They're not a bad speaker. That's what they're good for.
I love them.
Is Apple doing better with the Siri? No. Maybe.
It is at least more responsive on the phones now.
It is.
That I will get.
It is.
For sure.
It's much better now.
And I found the culprit because they're hooked up stereo in my studio here, one to the right, one to the left. What happens is, if you touch the top and ask a question to it,
that's where Siri goes.
It'll respond. She'll come out of that voice, or he or it will come out of that voice. The voice will. But it was always switching on me.
You couldn't figure out why. Yeah, that's how you switch them.
It's my cat. My cat goes up there and puts its paw on it. And
then it's activating it.
It says play. But it doesn't hold it long enough to get it to play. So next time I ask a question, I turn my head the whole other way like, what happened? Now I know why.
I don't know why they can't have them come out of both. That's really, it's
stereo.
head scratching. If you can manufacture this where the music can come out beautifully in stereo out of both, you tell me you can't just have Siri come out of both sides. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I'd like. That it would probably sound better too.
It would, because it throws you off. Because like I'll be playing music and I'm like, hey, what song is this? And then it only comes out of the left, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, they talked about a $4.99. You can get Apple Music for $4.99. I think this is for we have first adapters, right? But these are the last adapters that are out there that don't want to pay for the premium and bundle and all this stuff, or pay $9.99. Now they can get for $4.99
The voice
monthly.
only.
Voice only, so they can use all these devices. Something we've been using for quite a while, but most of us, if we subscribe to Apple Music, this is like, we're all scratching our head like,
point.
what is this? Is this? I think they're just trying to mop up the last of the non-payers.
You can't make playlists. You can't even really use a lot of the features if you go to Apple Music on your phone. You literally have to speak what you want. So just, that's really all you can do with that subscription from what I gathered.
It's an interesting one. So if you are not subscribed to any Apple Music, this might be
I am not.
easy way in, and then you can explore it. But it's confusing.
It is, and I wonder how it'll interact with Apple TV if you just have the voice only plan. Like, are you only able to use Siri to then play? Like, it's a weird plan to me. I get why they're doing it, because like Prime Music, it's only $4.99. Granted, when you do Prime Music, you can, create playlist and have an app and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We've talked about this before. I don't know if Verizon's the only one that does this, but there's so many ways to get a full subscription for not a whole lot of money.
Yeah, and after we had that conversation, I did look at my plan under my Verizon app, and apparently it did not list under all the features that I had listed, it did not list Apple Music as one of them. So
well, you do have to add it, but it's not there by default. So you might just have to talk to a Verizon person to see if your plan's eligible to have it on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you do have to go actually sign up for it, but it's free.
And it's not and as long as you have that plan, it's free. It's not for a limited time.
No, it's ongoing.
Okay. Well, I may as well. Because that way I can
Explore.
test things and whatnot. So maybe I will look into that at some point.
I like it better than Spotify, because for a while we did have Spotify.
I use YouTube Music.
And Spotify, I find with voiceover a lot harder to do things in, to add things to playlists and things like that.
Either of you understand this, that I'm a Apple user, and here we're talking about the event, and you both are PC people?
Yeah.
Have you been listening to this whole last conversation, Jeff?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I can't still talk intelligently about it. Come on now. I'm a nerd.
But you guys are so quick to shift over to the other products that do almost the same thing or something like that.
Well, no, I was saying that the Apple Music is better, though.
I do like Apple Music.
I really like it.
And I did hear, and I sent an article to you, Jesse, about Apple Music maybe showing up on some platforms, some like PlayStation.
PS5.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. By all rights, they should, because they made it so that they can listen to it on PC. Didn't they do it for Echo devices or something like that as well?
It's on the Echoes and the Googles. I will tell you the Echo one is incredibly glitchy. It disconnects it.
Okay.
It disconnects from it all the time, so I've given up on that. But it does stay on the Google.
Yeah.
It does.
I mean,
disconnect.
every other video or audio service is really open. You can listen to it on whatever device you want. And I really think if Apple really wants to have the users that they do, I think they need to be available everywhere too. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, the event was called Unleash, and I see why, because they got the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, and those are the new chips coming through, and they're unleashing the power. And it's amazing when you hear these numbers that they have on how fast and stuff. But the world has never seen something like this yet. It's just incredible. 7 times faster, 3 times faster, 2 times,
One was 32 times faster.
Yeah, but you do have
everything.
to really listen to what they're comparing to, because sometimes they're like, this is 800 times faster than the original iPhone. I'm like, well, duh. It's 10 years later, obviously.
This one was comparing to the previous generations, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were pretty good at it. I mean, what the M1 did to so many devices, everyone was astonished at the benchmarks that were coming out of it. This blows that away. I mean, I got to hand it to Apple. Even if I wasn't an Apple fan, I would hand it to them for resetting the bar for everyone. I'm sure Qualcomm's sitting over there going, dang it. Calls Pentium.
I agree. There's some beasts of computers, and the reality is if I didn't prefer the Windows environment, that Mac sounds incredibly attractive.
It does.
Their hardware itself, like, even the quality of the chips and everything and the phones and the iPads and stuff, I don't really have a problem with them at all. And like, I think they make really good hardware actually, and they integrate it well with their software. Like you though, the two reasons that I really stick to the PC are I'm just so much more comfortable in the Windows environment, and a lot of the stuff that I do for gaming and stuff, it's just it's a better place to be for that.
I come from the place where your work, what do you do for your work? And I would say these numbers can be anywhere from 70 to 90% of work-based platforms is going to be with the Microsoft or, that type of environment. So the PC, knowing JAWS, it's a good thing. Especially for students coming up out of the VR system or who have visual impairments who need screen readers. I highly recommend learning the PC. That's a no-brainer for me. Very rarely are you going to find that one student that is so much into music. Well, there's probably a few of them that it does pay to have a Mac in that type of area where you're talking about audio and stuff.
And if you're going to do app development, for sure.
To anybody, if you can experience the PC and experience a Mac, that's the best of both worlds. And that's best for you to have that in your pocket when you're trying to look for employment or even just out there in life. There's nice to have options. I went towards the Mac because of the audio part of it. And yet when Lori pulls out her PC and is sitting there, I hear the commands. I want to go over there and, it's been a while. They don't have the VO keys. It's just one of those things.
It's nice to not push 16 keys at once to do a command. Yeah. Just saying.
Oh, you mean on the Mac side?
Yeah, well, yeah, because the VO key, it's technically 2 keys.
Well, thankfully, they did fix that a few years ago.
They did.
Because now you can use the caps lock key more.
It didn't work for everything. Like, I had switched mine to the caps lock, and it had issues when you would try to use the caps lock instead.
I admit there's a lot of faults, but for my narrow thing with audio, this is the best machine. There's no noise. There's so much pluses in that. But what I was saying before is if you're looking for a job out there in the real world, if you're looking for a job out there, you're probably better off to have some experience with a PC, with a Microsoft-based platform, JAWS. That will get you a lot further if you have that. I'm not saying don't have a Mac, but don't think you're going to carry that Mac or don't think you're going to carry that Braille note or your device, and that's going to get you through. You're going to have to learn to use what the corporations are using, and predominantly it's in the Microsoft world. With that said, I think Pentium and anyone that making a chip for a PC or for an Apple product, all eyes right now are on these M1 Max chips. And it's
for sure
blowing things away. So it's going to rise all the ships. We're all going to sail better.
Well, what I find is going to be really interesting too is you have the M1 chips on the Mac side, and even on the PC, it's not quite as, it pretty much used to be, Intel and maybe AMD had a little bit of a market, but now AMD is really popular. I don't know when it's really going to catch up or how it's going to be, but now Windows is really looking at ARM processors as far as savings. So it's really not kind of cut and dry. There's a lot of people fighting to be the processor of choice for things these days.
They're impressive, except for the price, I have to admit. I built one up. I went with the M1 Max, and I built it up to 32 gigabyte, and I went with 2 terabytes, and I was up to about $4,300 in no time flat. So you can go into the Apple Store.
Desktop rig.
They come in a 14-inch or a 16-inch. The 14-inch is going to start out right at about $2,000, $1,999.
Yeah.
And the other one is at $2,499. That's your starting point, but you're starting out with the M1 Pro. And then once you start beefing it up and moving up into the M1 Max, you're talking a little more bucks. But the thing is with Apple, if you want to go from 1 terabyte to 2 terabytes, there's $200, there's $400, there's $800. Yeah. And you can get up to 8 terabytes in there, but it's going to cost you about $2,200.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to skyrocket that price.
Did you get the polishing cloth, too?
I was just going to yes, the $20 cloth.
They're sold out right now.
Really? Really, guys?
They say it's revolutionary.
Of course it is.
The cloth is?
Yeah.
The thing that I do like about these new computers, and you can tell they won't admit it, they're just like, they're going back to the way the MacBooks used to be before 2015, 2016 or so. We have physical keys, the touch bar is gone, and there's a weird little thing that they're adding. Ports, like we actually have like an HDMI port and an SD card port and MagSafe.
And the fingerprint.
Yeah, basically all the things that people really like, because I still have a work MacBook from 2012 that I prefer over, we did get some updated models in, I don't even remember, 2016, 17 or something, and I hated the keyboard on that thing. It was just awful, and I didn't like the touch bar, and I still preferred my 2012 MacBook Pro. And now that they're kind of going back to that, I think they're realizing that, okay, that's what people want. We're not going to admit that we were wrong with this thing, but, they tried something new and now they're going back.
Oh, I think producing it and putting it out there, they're admitting they were wrong because they made the switch.
True.
And it's good. I think it's a real good move for them.
I like the hardware keys.
The function keys, I like pushing them and knowing exactly what I'm going to get. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I have a question, and it's just always baffled me, and maybe it's because they want to always have the tablet kind of separate. But in all these years, how have they not integrated a touchscreen into any of their MacBooks? I don't understand. With what people do with these,
I think they really want to sell you a $1,000 iPad. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, there's affordable iPads, too. I should correct that.
They've almost bridged that gap because they have software jumping back and forth now. You're going to be able to run
But so now they want to sell you 2 devices. You know what I mean? Like, it's for all these high-powered things that, they showed people creating backgrounds behind videos live, with those new chips. Like, imagine what you could do if that was touchscreen and you could just crop it by just drawing around it, yeah.
For sure.
It just baffles me that they've never tried to have it be a touchscreen.
Especially as artistic as Apple is.
Exactly.
They really focus on the audio, the video, and that kind of a thing. Yeah, that would be a perfect fit, I think, especially that new Apple Pencil, if that could work on there. I think that would be a great thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. They got quite a few lines of products. You got your AirPods. Jeez, I can't even get it right again.
Products. AirPower? Is it AirPower, Jeff?
Oh, no. God, that was a thought, wasn't it? I guess they're going with MagSafe, right?
Yep.
But you have to pay $20 extra to get the MagSafe compatible charging brick for the MacBooks.
Oh, I didn't read that. Really?
Yeah, it's an extra $20 for the faster charging on it.
Man, you guys. Wow.
Well, technically, the 14 has 2 configurations that you can get, and they're still selling the 13-inch. And if you want the high-power one, it's a $20 extra to beef that one up because it comes with a lower wattage. It's interesting how they
nickel and dime you.
They do.
Yeah.
But it's probably smart business.
It should just come with the polishing cloth and the correct adapter. I'm just saying, like, when you're spending $2,500 minimum on the higher, like, not even the higher end MacBook Pro, the entry level MacBook Pro, I feel like with such a premium product, it should come with some of these things.
I would agree.
I don't know what they're all talking about because now it has the little bump in the top of the screen now where the camera is. What do they call that?
Oh, it's there. Yes, they. Oh, good. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, they basically put the iPhone notch on the Mac now.
The notch. To me, it's like it doesn't really matter. I've listened to the 7 billion transistors or whatever they put into everything about the screens and stuff. That's great. That's great. I like the speakers. They really put some speakers in there. I like that.
Has spatial audio in them.
Yeah, I like what they're doing to the machine. It's heavy duty. Like you said, Jesse, the hardware is good. People should be excited about these. If they do have a MacBook right now and they need to upgrade, this is a good choice. You got a good choice. You can get the M1, you can get the M1 Pro, or you can get the M1 Max, depending on what you're going to be doing. And they do make the middle tier, they make the high tier, and so people who want to buy one, there's probably a price point for them. It's just kind of fun to go in there and build up the biggest one and see what kind of price
you do that
get.
every time.
Yeah, because to be fair, when we had the Microsoft event a couple of weeks ago,
the same thing.
Yeah, they have the same sort of, the Surface, even compared to what you can get, the difference is on the Windows side, you can get third-party manufacturers, but even though, I like some of the Surface Pro designs and stuff, but they're kind of pricey for the form factor.
I think that one topped out at, what, $3,300 for the Surface?
I don't remember. I didn't even look.
Yeah.
I think Jeff played around. I think it was $3,300. And it was essentially the same configuration as my LG Gram which was a little under $2,000.
Yeah. My daughter just got the LG Gram, the 17, I believe it was.
That's the one I have.
The 17. She got the 1 terabyte one. She just needs it for college. She doesn't have for work or something like that. So I think she's going to be very happy with. So thank you, Serina, for.
Oh, those look really nice, actually.
I just love how light it is. Pick up an old one and you're just like, what the crap is this?
Yep.
And the lightweight.
And the battery life is just, I can use it Sundays usually when I do my kind of side work, and I can use it all day without even thinking about charging it.
Speaking of Apple and battery life, I will say, like, now that I've had the phone for a few weeks now, good Lord, the battery life on the 13 Pro Max is pretty ridiculous. The battery lasts forever.
Oh, that's good.
It is really good. I mean, you're going to pay for it, but man, that bigger shell definitely gets you more juice, that's for sure.
So with your new iPhone 13 Pro Max,
Correct.
do you have the Safari bar at the bottom or the top? I should say the tab bar or address bar.
Address bar.
When it goes to the bottom, they call it the tab bar. When they move it to the top, they call it the address bar.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize that. I didn't know if I'd like it, but I kind of like it at the bottom because as I'm holding the phone, like it's a giant phone, so I don't have to, stretch my hand to get up to the address bar. It hides it out of the way when you scroll down the page, and if you swipe up or if you scroll up, it'll appear along with your controls on the bottom. I kind of like having it there.
Even when you're like looking for your tabs and stuff, you just got used to the different way.
Well, the tabs, it's not the Rolodex anymore. It brings it up as little 2 side-by-side, like preview windows of each page, which I really like. I like that much, much better than the Rolodex view that they've been using for the last few versions of iOS. And now that they've added the ability for browser extensions, like having Dark Reader, yeah, Safari's actually, I really like it now. It's pretty good.
With the tabs, there's an actions menu available on, I think it might be the back button or even the tabs button, where if you scroll up and down on it, it'll tell you what the previous tabs are, and you can previous or next, and you can just go right to them. I love that. That part is awesome.
Yeah, that's using the rotor, right?
No, using the actions. So you just swipe, once you hit it, it automatically switches to the actions, and then you swipe up and down, and it'll toggle through all your tabs that you have open, and then you just double you want to go to.
By default, you go in there and your rotor is set for actions. Sometimes,
when it lands on it.
If you do something else, it switches and it comes back, and it doesn't do it. So make sure your rotor is back to actions, because sometimes it moves around.
What is kind of neat, too, is if you have focus on the address bar, and if it is at the bottom, I don't know if it'll do it at the top because it treats it a little bit different, but on the bottom, because the address bar, it works kind of as your tab title, and you can 3-finger flick left and right to basically switch between your tabs if you have focus on that bar, which I also kind of like.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like how they've changed it up a little bit, because now it's more like your home screen or how your icons lay out, rather than having it flip through like you're holding 18 cards in your hand playing a game of cards.
And I never would tap the right one when it was like that ever.
No, I found, I call it the Rolodex look because that's what it would look like. I never got it to consistently, if I explored by touch, it would never click the right one. You always had to flick to it.
And then it was also random, the order. Absolutely random. You're like, I don't even know where some of these tabs came from.
No, Safari 15 is way better.
Your app switcher. Have you ever noticed, say you're on Twitter and your next one's Facebook. So you're on Twitter and you go, oh, I'm going to switch. And all of a sudden Facebook's there and you swipe and it goes back to the other one.
It does all that. It's a focus problem.
Yeah, it still does that.
You have to go 2 steps back to go 8 steps the other way.
It's really frustrating. And normally you're just so on muscle memory that you're like, okay, I heard Facebook and double tap. And then you're like, this isn't Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, no, that happened to me earlier today.
Yep.
Actually,
it's really frustrating because it seems like there's just some, and I'm thinking my keyboard bug's going to end up being that too. There's just so many long-standing bugs that are specific to VoiceOver that seem like they just never get addressed. And it's sad.
They made some really neat improvements, especially with the OCR of text and everything. If they could just kind of really go back and really clean up these long-standing bugs, I think it would be just fantastic.
It would.
Yeah, 15.1 has just been dropped, and it's pretty good. I mean, there's still a few things that I have to explore and everything, but there's still those little buggy things here and there. But I think anybody that wants to upgrade, I don't see a showstopper developer. Serina, you said you wanted to add something to the...
I did. So this might tie into one of the other topics that I saw that you had. But this goes back to, and I haven't tested this because I don't use my Siri in this way, but I'm told that they fixed this, but they took away the ability to, dictate a full email and check your voicemail and things like that. And our community went really...
bonkers.
Yeah, bonkers is probably the right word over this. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit and kind of get, all of your opinion on this too, because I didn't even notice that those things were taken away because that's not how I use my phone. There were a lot of people...
Email Serina.
There were a lot of people that were very upset. Yeah, they fixed it. And said that I can no longer use my phone because they took these things away from me. And it's like, if you have this smart device, we can't become reliant upon the voice assistant because it is not a reliable way to do things. And what if you would have dictated that email and it's just an absolute mess? Are you going to send it like that? Are you going to go correct it? Like, we've got to learn our voiceover gestures and learn how to use our phones without the reliance upon Siri. Siri is just a tool to help you. It's not the one and only.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. There are times where, sure, doing quick tasks with the voice assistant of choice, like Siri or Google, whatever it is, that works fine. But like you said, you really have to...
Bring back Bigsby.
I can't count how many times, especially non-disabled people, they think, oh, well, Siri, you talk to Siri. That's what blind people use. And if I had a quarter for every time people got Siri mixed up with voiceover, I'd be loaded.
Yep. Even television shows do it.
Right. And the other thing that I kind of didn't like about this whole thing was that there were mainstream technology sites that got wind of this and covered it. And they even kind of misinterpreted it because it's like, oh, well, because Apple took out these Siri features, it's impacting blind people. And then they don't really clarify that, oh, no, you can totally still use the phone as a blind person, but they're making it sound like that's the only way to use the phone, and it's giving people a lot of kind of incorrect information. That's the part that kind of bothered me.
That's a really good perspective. Yeah. I didn't even think of it that way.
It's kind of like, let's go pre-COVID, to go to the store and go shop and get your groceries, load them up in the car, come home. And then it switched to, you place your order and you go pull up to Walgreens or the supermarket and, they put them in your car at Target. Or you use Instacart. The convenience that we've gotten used to during this period of time and accept now, in my opinion, 3 years ago on Stitch Fix or, these type of Instacarts or Shipped or whatever.
Instacart is so wonderful.
Yeah. Today it is, but I didn't believe that it would be 5 years ago, or 3 years ago.
Because it was so expensive back then, too.
And when we have the ability to use Siri and smart assistants, you could be in a conversation with an intelligent person in your house. How many times does someone turn to fact check and go, hey,
we do it all the time.
I know, it's like...
Oh, I do, yeah.
Especially with my son. Yeah, we're constantly doing that. I use it for spelling all the time.
I do, too. I'm writing a report, especially now that I'm at home. I'm like, hey, hey, lady, how do you spell this?
There's certain words that for the life of me, I just can never spell. So
Amen. Totally.
Well, why is tomorrow so hard to spell? Come on.
I can do tomorrow.
Yeah.
That one I can do, but there are other ones that I
can't spell shenanigans, but...
Oh, forget about it.
How about vacuum? Vacuum.
I can't spell inconvenient either.
Convenient I can. Vacuum I always screw up. Vacuum would probably give me a problem.
I could probably type it, but not say it out loud. Because autopilot.
Well, see, I never remember, is it 2 C's or 2 U's and M's, and I don't remember.
Now I'm going to doubt myself every time I have to type it.
Excellent.
Here's something that has stuck with me. When I was learning Braille, I read some books that were from England, and when you have the word neighbor, it's O-U-R at the end of it.
Oh, yep, color as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep, there's a few words that are like that, yep.
Yeah, and so a habit now for me is when I'm spelling words, I'll add that U to it.
Oh,
like
weird.
New York, I always do Y-O-U-R.
York.
Oh, wow, weird. I've never done that.
It doesn't even make sense, but I finally figured out why I'm adding the U to it is because...
When you're learning Braille, that makes sense.
Sure.
And that really was a stickler for me because color, what word is this? I would just get stuck and It's Colour.
That actually makes a really interesting point where, like, and I don't know what the right answer is, but you mentioned Braille, and, we've talked before about, how, okay, maybe we're not super fond of, like, or for me, like, I'm not super fond of note takers, but I really love Braille displays. Having a physical form to read is important. But the way you have, you start to learn the alphabet, the numbers and the punctuation, but then you learn contracted Braille. And I'm wondering, I guess, you know what the contractions stand for, but like I remember like some people wouldn't really know how to spell the word because it's like, oh, I just type K for knowledge, or how do you learn to spell some of the words because of some of these contractions?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I really like the contractions because then you didn't have to write as much,
Yeah.
But I think that you're absolutely right. When you verify, when you go down, that's why those refreshable brailles in front of their keyboards are so handy for them, because they can go down and do a spell check real quick, or they can reference something if they got it right for setting up formatting or something. It's great. But I never thought that the Braille spelling and what I learned through Braille, because it was an English written book, that would affect my spelling today. And I still sometimes add a U, and it's just, I'm not trying to slam Braille at all. I'm just,
not at all.
One of those things.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is if that's the way it was written and that's the way you would kind of learn to spell that word.
If I would have listened to the book, I would have never known that. I would have fly right through it. Neighbor, all that type of stuff. And people, this is tech abilities. We do talk about tech. But it is one of those things, as you're going through training, you might come across things that it's really interesting. You might not take off on it and use it later in your life, but it's really nice to have a basis for it, somewhere that you can, when someone starts talking about it, they can relate to it. And I'm glad I learned some Braille. I'm glad I can write Braille.
So am I.
And I wish someone interrupted my training and set me aside and gave me a lot more reason to use Braille then, because I would have. I'm not regretting it today to the point where I don't lose sleep over it. However, I wish I would have been able to use it more as a tool today that would be seamless with productivity.
I actually, even like, both you and I are low vision, and like, I totally agree with you because for me, interestingly, I really didn't get to learn a lot of blindness stuff until 7th grade. Like K through 6, I was pretty much given a dome magnifier.
Oh my gosh.
3rd or 4th grade, I did get an older CCTV that I could use, which did help immensely. But other than that, like, it was kind of like, here's your quote unquote large print books, which really weren't that large, and a dome magnifier, have at it. I'm glad that I do know grade 1, grade 2 Braille. I've never been, I used to be really fast at writing it because I did use a Braille and Speak to take notes in high school before I got laptops. But, I wish that I would have learned Braille at a younger age, maybe as I was learning to read, because I think then I probably would have used it more and I would have built up my reading speed and been more encouraged to use it. But having learned it later on during my education, I was starting to read these longer textbooks where I'm like, well, I'm not a fast Braille reader, so I'm not going to read it in Braille, but you got to read it to get faster. So it's kind of this weird chicken and egg sort of thing. It's like, which one, what comes first? Nevertheless, like if I'm out somewhere and they have a Braille signage somewhere, I'm really glad that I do know Braille.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you're younger, don't leave it behind. If you're older, I understand. And that's all I got to say about it. I mean, if you're going to look into the workplace, I think it'd come in handy, especially with a refreshable Braille like we were talking about earlier, so.
Even like labeling file, like I've seen some people we've gone out to job sites where they do a lot of the stuff in print, but maybe they'll put like Braille labels on file cabinet drawers or even on manila folders to find the right files. We've helped somebody with that with Braille labelers and stuff before. So even for shorter things, it can be super helpful.
If you're going to start labeling something with bumps or dots or Braille, I mean, I don't have to label my ring finger. I got a ring on there. I don't have to label every can, everything. Serina, do you use any type of labeling system?
So when I was younger, I did learn the alphabet in Braille, and I had like some labels that we used for common things, like spices that if you sniffed them, you couldn't for sure tell, which thing it was, and things that looked similar. But generally now, I'm not a Braille user now, like at all. It was just something that at the time I was already well into college, and just it didn't work for me at that time.
Yeah.
But now with all the different technology, I have so many different ways that I can identify something
Sure.
that I don't know if a lot of people are labeling things a lot with Braille or not. It was really cool how I was being helped. We had these rolls of magnetic strip and then the clear stuff that she would like Braille it on there for me, and then they were just magnetic. You just move it from can to can, you know?
Mylar strips.
It was kind of nice because, green beans or corn, I don't know,
Right.
But that was before all this technology,
I bought some rubber bands and we made these little labels like green beans, GB or something like that. Something simple. I mean, it's your house. You can do what you want.
Exactly.
And that rubber band around the can, tomato soup, TS or something, boom, boom, boom. So when you use it, you just slide it to the next one or, if that is what it is, so it does make it easier. And sometimes we did this one thing. We had these rubber bands around these little strips. So when we use them, we put them all in one container. And so when we do our grocery list, we just pull all those things out. Well,
what are we out
this,
of?
This.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a great
That's
idea.
smart.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like we deal with a lot of high-tech stuff, but sometimes, hey, it's just something quick and simple is, something low-tech can be just as effective.
A little magnet. If you go to the store, these little, what are they called? Dollar stores still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should be $2 stores now. If you get these magnets, you can use those to identify tin cans. Just tunk, tunk, tunk. You're the one that got them from the store or delivered to your house. You're the one that's putting them away. You can use the magnets any way you want. They don't have to say B for beans. It just has to be a magnet is on the beans, something of that nature. So there's so many people. Some people rip a little corner or, a lot of things.
Or the way that you organize your pantry,
Yep.
Yeah. Or the hair, what is it? Hairband. What are those little hair bands called? The little small ones?
Scrunchies.
Yeah, you can put that around the conditioner.
It's like I didn't even say it the first time.
Yeah, I heard you.
Well, yeah, I know, but I find them in the wash and I find them in the dryer and all over, or the cats play with them for a week. Those little things.
Yeah.
Those work really good to wrap around like your conditioner or your shampoo, one or the other, Labeling can be very inexpensive and just something that works for you. Put the shampoo all the time to your right or left.
And I put a bump dot on my conditioner. Usually the bottles are shaped differently, but I can never remember which shape was the
I just get it all in one bottle and say to heck with it.
Was the conditioner the weird shape? So I'll put a bump dot on the conditioner because I think of it as 0 and 1. So the shampoo is 0.
Get the shampoo and conditioner in one bottle, and then boom, you're good.
Oh, good. You boys. No, it does not work that way.
Totally does.
No.
No, it doesn't because, Jesse, other people use my bathroom, and I know I got 2 things I got to grab, but there's probably 5 in there, so.
Yeah.
I like the consistency of where things are, and like even in the fridge. I like consistency.
Yep, so do I.
The other day, I got out the Miracle Whip instead of the mayonnaise that Lori likes. And boy,
horror.
Back up. I backed up. I was like,
Did you already eat your sandwich? Like, did you take a bite?
I didn't use it. I used ketchup mustard on my cheeseburger. She likes to put mayonnaise, Hellman's mayonnaise, on hers. I got out the Miracle Whip, and she said, "Is this the mayonnaise?" I said, "Yeah," as I walked away. About a minute later, bad labeling. So now the mayonnaise and the
Are they
Miracle
completely
Whip are
separated?
Opposites.
They're divorced.
On the doors. One's on the left, one's on the right. So, but that's where some of my little bit of vision, it was yellow and blue. Oh, that's mayonnaise, right? I don't know.
No, that's the Miracle Whip one.
Yeah, I found that out real quick. But yeah, I think, especially if you're living with someone, everybody understanding that really helps.
Yeah, for sure.
Mixing things up. Yeah.
Well, and it's really interesting too because the way our house is set up, if you were at my front door and you made a straight line, you'd walk all the way through, because there's the way the living room's divided, the couch is kind of the divider between the living room and the kitchen. If you walk a straight line, you'll just end up at the back where my dining room is. But if our couch is off even by an inch, I will run into it. Like just that 1 inch, and I'll run into it and stub my toe, and I'm like, "Who moved the couch?" Because it's on a wood floor, so it moves,
Yeah, it is. It is that we got those. I don't even know.
Those rubber
remember
things
when
don't
the power went
always
out?
help. But
No, they don't always. Yeah.
When the power went out here, it was true. I was off kilter, and I was running into things. It was like, just makes you go, Serina.
Jeffrey.
I bought a new it's a power surge bar. It has 9 plugins on it.
Protecting all your electronics there, Jeff.
Well, when I had that power go out, one of them smoked. I mean, it smelled like burnt electronics.
Oh, that's
but
scary.
it protected my TV and everything. But the other one, my Furman, I believe I'll correct the name of it, and I'll put it in the notes. But someone suggested it to me a long time ago, and I got it for $59. Now it's $74. But it's actually an electric conditioner. So like for your computer, your TV, and your audio equipment, it really protects it really well. And that one didn't even blink. That one protected everything. So I guess that situation to me is like, okay, it's probably worth it. It protected everything. If we would have got another surge, would that other one sent the signal through it now that it fried it, or a fire? I don't know. So, you get those $12 ones or $8 ones from Home Depot or whatever, you just grab it off the shelf. It's a surge protecting outlet bank. So I'm going to switch over my whole entertainment center out in the living room to that. Since I have my studio in here, I have this one in here. Kind of neat, kind of nice to know it worked.
Jeffrey.
Serina.
You asked about the audio description. What's new? The audio description project has a brand new Instagram, which I am super excited about. It's just at Audio Description Project on Instagram. We keep everything super accessible. All of the pictures have alt text on them, and we're posting the latest titles that are added and all that fun stuff, as well as different special announcements and tips and tricks along the way too.
And Roy Samuelson was nominated.
He was, and so was Chris Snyder too. Which is awesome.
And my friend Satana landed a thing, and it all came out on was it Seinfeld? Yeah.
I know the company that produced it as well, which was Audio Eyes and Zoo Digital, which is awesome. I was so excited to start watching Seinfeld because it was a surprise when it landed, because I did not know where it was going to land. I knew it was in the works. I didn't know where it was going to land. All the visual things that we've been missing, and I've watched Seinfeld so many times over the years, and it was still just as entertaining, but the visual things that we've been missing, it's like, wow.
Where did that one land anyway?
It's on Netflix with audio description. Yep.
Gotcha.
Which is
and it's really good.
Huge.
Laurie comes out of the room and she comes in and she goes, Satana, hey, Seinfeld, she's on, it's Satana.
Because she's just that excited. Yeah. Because it was a surprise to everyone when it landed. It was just like all of a sudden Seinfeld's on Netflix and it has audio description. We're like, whoa. That tells you the commitment that Netflix has. I know people are real upset about Squid Game right now. I've heard that audio description is coming. I get it.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if that
I don't think anyone predicted that blowing up, because there's tons of foreign language shows on there that nobody cares about.
Well, and if you're listening to it on certain devices, you can turn the subtitles on and VoiceOver will read them, correct?
It's dubbed in English. So there's already English dubbing, and it's voice acted. It's not just...
I've heard the English voice acting is really bad, though.
I've heard that it's actually pretty good, but it doesn't have audio description for the visual elements.
Sure.
But I've heard it's coming, so...
Oh, okay.
For what show is that?
Squid Game. I have no clue what it's actually about. Nobody will tell me, because apparently if you know, then it spoils it. So
I don't know. It's some sort of survival thing or something.
It's scripted. It is scripted. That's all I know. Yeah,
it's scripted, but I don't. It's some sort of Korean thing, or
yeah, it's definitely a Korean language series.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it yet.
Everything on Apple TV with their audio description is just phenomenal. I can watch and watch and watch and watch. I like it. I really like it. I know a lot of people say their Apple TVs have collected dust and they don't turn it on. I can't see how people cannot have it nowadays.
It's the most accessible streaming device, in my opinion.
It is.
The other day, all of a sudden I get this notification that my remote cannot connect, so I just plugged it in to charge it. You
probably need to charge it, yeah.
Yeah, but it charges right back up. I mean,
you charge it like twice a year, like literally. Yeah. They're good for a long time.
I really like that.
I had a cheesy horror movie on last night, and I heard just I actually turned the descriptive video off that it had come on automatically because it was so bad. It sounded like it was being read by an AI or not an AI, but like a synthesizer. Was it on
Prime Video?
Yes.
Prime Video is using text-to-speech voices quite a bit.
It talks over the actual dialogue. They don't time it. Like, it's matched horribly.
Yeah, the quality, just where things are kind of with that, there's obviously two kind of schools of thought. It's like, well, I love having more media that's accessible, but could you put the quality assurance in so that it's at least placed properly?
You're right. I mean, I don't even mind that it's text to speech, but don't put it over the actual dialogue.
Because it's not a human that's placing it is what's going on. Is
The Apple event did pretty good. Every once in a while, I was like, he moves quickly across the room by the table.
Yeah.
I mean, they sneak it in there.
It was also describing things that were like that happened like 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, because they don't have it. It's completely placed off wrong.
5-10 seconds ago. It was bizarre.
Yep.
I'm like, ooh, that's bad. I actually turned it off.
Well, sometimes that little bit of being off, especially if you have low vision, I suppose it really impacts you. But when you hear other people laugh, and then, it just seems like they could do a better job.
There's an art to timing it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't want the individual who's visually impaired to get that description too early, but you don't want it too late either. It really is an art of figuring out where to place those descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time for audio description because there's a lot of people involved, a lot of players involved, and it's really coming around. Thank you, Serina.
Well, there's a lot of stuff happening with it. Yeah, it's cool. And it's getting better.
There's also the AD Gala coming up, or Gala. My son's like, you're supposed to say Gala, and I keep saying Gala. I don't know. It's probably tomato. The Audio Description Project also has that. I believe it's November 18th at 7:30 Eastern, and it's a free virtual event. I should know all the names, but it's actually some famous people that'll be there, and Thomas Reed's going to be co-hosting, and it's going to be really cool. It's the first annual AD Gala, I guess. So there'll be some awards too given out for audio description there as well. So it's pretty cool.
Cool.
And that's put on by who?
The American Council of the Blind and the Audio Description Project.
Ah, okay.
Yep. And then there's the other one, the Voice Arts Awards, which are huge, which are like the Voice Arts Awards are like the Oscars of voice acting. And those nominations for those came out a couple weeks ago. When this comes out, it'll have been a couple weeks. Lots going on.
It's something nowadays. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I need to text Roy this. So Barack Obama was nominated for one of these awards, and so was Roy Samuelson. I think that's, to be on this, because it's people who read their own, if it was read by the author. So
oh, sure.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is Brock's going to a show right now. Roy Samuelson's on there. Just think, I'm on there, and Roy Samuelson's. Wow.
So true, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal. I think it's a really big deal for them to be recognized for the work that they put into it, because it's people think it's just reading a script, and it's not.
No, it was way more than that to do it well.
Yep.
It takes a team to get it all done. And there's so many different hats that have to do a great job at it and working together to get it so you don't even notice it's really there,
I think that's why I actually like audio description more in recent times, because there was a time where they had a few things, and I don't know if it was just the content that I was hearing, but it was I really didn't care for audio description all that much.
The phone is ringing.
Yeah, that's patronizing.
The phone rang again.
Yeah, but now, there's a lot more quality stuff to choose from. And I'm like, there are some visual stuff that I am missing for some of the stuff, even if I am low vision. And I do find that sometimes audio description can be helpful, especially for something that's super visual.
It's helpful to people who can fully see. My husband he just leaves the audio description on if he's cooking or he plays Candy Crush sometimes while we're watching TV. I think it's just, it's not just for those who don't have, usable vision.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's huge.
What was it? The Southeastern Guide Dog commercial?
Oh, Pip.
Pip
That's the cutest thing ever.
gets to wear Ace's cape. Oh, spoiler. Oops. But it was neat. More so than audio description, though. To me, it was like a narration through it. But it was just a narrated walkthrough, and it was just so cute.
I think it was animated, yeah.
Yeah, it was animated, and it was
adorable.
Yeah, it was.
And it sticks with you, the fact that I know the dog's name still, and I watched that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I put it up on the Blind Abilities Facebook group. I think you had it up a few places. I
think I put it on the Audio Eyes feed, and yeah.
But it was just one of those things that who'd understand this? It was heartwarming.
I loved it. I was like, no, Pip, no.
It was really neat.
I think they did it to kind of bring awareness to the whole training program. And it's the cutest thing ever.
It was just a neat story. It's just neat that someone took that time to do that had the vision to do it, to support it. Like, there's a whole team that went into that, the two people that produced it, but...
And there was a donation that made possible, it sounded like, by a donor or two, which is really cool, because those things are not inexpensive to make, especially an animated film like that.
Jesse.
Yes.
You said you had some news about accessible gaming.
We can talk a little bit about SwordyQuest. We had them on Blind Abilities not terribly long ago, the cool interview that we did. Like I said, the developer for that game he's doing a terrific job. I mean, he's updating the game constantly. And based on some feedback that we had and suggestions, ideas that we had in the Blind Abilities interview, some of that stuff has made its way to the game. I can't even remember all of the things that he's put into the last several updates. You can fight with different weapons now, and there's just, I can't even remember all the things that he's added to the updates. But
even in the updates, what's new? They mentioned the Blind Abilities conversation. I just stopped for a second. I went, wow.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was really cool.
It may not be Barack Obama, but it's but this guy is the kingpin of, accessibility into a game and listening to the community.
No, he's doing a terrific job.
Yeah.
Yep, shout out to him.
Charlie.
Yeah, shout out to him. Like I said, my wallet, if anyone has, I need a cure for my wallet is in really pain. It's going to need some emergency revival here pretty soon because, we got the new phone a few weeks ago. I had it pre-ordered. I was this close to canceling it, but I did end up keeping my pre-order for the Nintendo Switch OLED. I had the original Switch. I'm going to probably sell that to a friend of mine for cheap. There's not really any performance improvement. It's still the same innards pretty much, but what they've done, they've made it just the build quality is a lot better.
Probably battery power will be better too.
I was going to say the two things that really stand out, you have a better battery life, and you go from like a 6.2 inch screen to a 7-inch screen.
That's a pretty big upgrade.
And it's OLED. You went from an LCD to an OLED, and boy, let me tell you, that's one of the reasons I decided to kind of keep it, because I've used my OLED phone. The PlayStation Vita was like the first portable console that had an OLED screen, and it looked just fantastic. It looked phenomenal at the time. I've been playing quite a bit of my Switch over the last week. I've been really playing a lot of the Castlevania Advance Collection again, and even just some of the older games. Like, everything just really pops. You have these vivid colors. There's good contrast. Nintendo doesn't have much for accessibility, but they do have a zoom feature that you can toggle on and off at any time, and I use that a lot in a lot of the games, especially the Castlevania games that I've been playing, to read some of the stats when I'm changing equipment and stuff like that. So the screen is really, really good, and the battery life is definitely improved. They've upgraded the dock a little bit. They added an Ethernet port, so you don't have to buy the separate Ethernet adapter if you don't want to use Wi-Fi on the old model. So it's got that. So those are really the main changes. If you don't have a Switch, I would say, and if you're wanting one, the OLED is definitely worth the extra $50 over the regular version.
Wow, just $50, huh?
Yeah, it's $50 more. The regular version is $300.
Well, it's $29 for a dongle from Apple.
Yeah, it's like $300 for the regular Switch and $350 for the Switch OLED. If you have one of the 2019 models, I don't know that I would really go upgrade because, who knows what they're going to do next. There's been rumors of a 4K model floating around.
It's about time for a refresh for them.
Well, yeah, for hardware and processor, there is, but like I said, I really, really do like the screen, especially as a low vision user, just having that extra clarity, a little bit bigger screen, because, it is nice. Like, I can, especially some of these games that I've been playing, like you said, I can be listening to a book or a podcast or listening to something else on another device and just mindlessly play some game in handheld mode, and it's a lot easier to do now.
I just wish that they would actually integrate some accessibility. Like, there's no excuse for this anymore.
I really do too.
Because a lot of their games, with the way that it's designed, it's very easy to have accessible games on the Switch. Like 1-2 Switch, I play with my son sometimes, and it's just so frustrating that they don't have anything.
Well, and it's
in.
really weird because what we think is accessibility, especially as blind low vision, screen reader magnification. Yes, they do have the zoom now, but they don't really have your traditional like system-wide accessibility features. But they do, like some of their games, like, for Mario Kart, they have a steering assist where you really can't fall off the track. They have auto acceleration. They have, like in some of their Mario games, like if you fail on a level or something, there'll be a golden mushroom at the beginning of the level. And if you get that, you're basically invincible. So you can get through troublesome spots, and it's good for new or, inexperienced gamers or little kids or something. So they do accessible stuff in that way, but they just really haven't adopted kind of an accessibility feature set for more of a consistent level of accessibility, whereas Microsoft and Sony have.
Mm-hmm.
With visuals and accessibility, I've gone through the journey. I'm not interested in CCTVs, magnifiers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Visual aids.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can catch TV shows in a sense if I sit right up close, but I always have audio description on. I can't read my phone, but I know what it's like to have usable vision and still, you're visually impaired, So that's really great but you can access it enough so that popping of that color must really be nice because, I remember the old CCTVs were grainy. They
black
had
and
a couple,
white.
and now they have a saturation of 5 different colors.
You go from the regular switch screen, and then you look at the OLED and go, God, the old one looks kind of bad. I mean, in comparison, I did a hardware review of the OLED Switch on the channel on Saturday, so you can check that out. We used my iPhone 13 camera to record, some footage of the Switch, and you can even tell through the iPhone camera, like how the screen just pops out there. So yeah, the colors are really rich and vivid, so it does really help in that aspect.
And that's illegally cited on the YouTube channel, right?
Yep, illegally cited, and hopefully, like I said, the pain just keeps coming because hopefully in a couple of weeks, I should be also getting a new desktop computer because it's around that time. A friend of mine, actually, his computer, flat out, his motherboard died on him, so he was looking at a replacement rig, and he sent me the specs of his, and unbeknownst, I've been on and off, thinking about an upgrade for the last year and a half or so. And then I saw his computer and I saw one that was, similar next to it. I'm like, this actually isn't all that bad. And so, yeah, my friend inadvertently kind of made me pull the trigger a little bit sooner than I thought I would, but it's going to be a sweet gaming rig. I'll be able to play the modern games on PC again.
I don't know who's outdoing who. What do you think, Serina? Rocky or Jesse?
Oh, definitely Rocky, because she's buying Apple products.
Well, I just spent about $3,000 on my computer, so.
Yeah, but I guarantee you she's probably going to upgrade her Mac, and then she's going to get the new iPhone, and then she just got the iPad too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice during the event, none of us were really doing anything else, and you see this lone tweet that comes out,
the message from Rocky. Well, I didn't text because I was on my phone, and I was like, I didn't feel like trying to text while the thing was playing.
I was actually doing stuff at work at that time, and since I wasn't super into the Mac stuff, I'm like, I actually watched like the 8-minute condensed video from Engadget or something, where they just put all the important stuff in there.
What did she say?
She was losing her mind.
Oh, I know, it was funny.
They
the touch bar
with the function keys and the headphone jack.
And
my
the
dream
headphone
come
jack,
true.
SD
And then
card.
nothing.
And then I'm like, I don't really like the Macs. I think
Yeah.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Jesse just rained all over her parade.
No, I just said, I'm like, I'm getting a new computer too. And
Well, once I went through it and I saw what I would want, I mean, I just got a brand new iMac at home here, before it's still Pentium, but I built it up. So I wanted to build up, if I was going to have the 16-inch, which I do have, the 2015 one, it works fine.
Yeah.
For what I do. I don't need to, and I resolved to that, but I was waiting for these to come out, but not really the MacBook Pros. I was waiting for the iMac. So it comes spring. We're going to have another event.
I'm sure.
oof.
I mean, I can't imagine what
Maybe
Yeah.
about March.
the M1 Max Super Duper.
That would be like a $5,000 computer, probably.
Oh, that would be brutal.
What's the next name of the next chip?
M2.
That's so boring.
When you think of the chips in the phones, they're just what is it,
Yeah,
A14 or 15 now? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
M2.
Well, yeah, and like I said, the other,
M-Deuce.
I just totally lost my train of thought.
That would be dose, not deuce.
Dose. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Well, a deuce is 2. Sometimes this is like a little, it's like you ever...
We have human interaction with people we don't work with? What? You know?
We used to have a tree fort or a fort, where you get to go in and you just get to turn out the world for a second.
So true.
Jesse, you're in Minnesota. I know what your weather's like, but Serina, what's your weather like tonight?
It was like just an actual real fall day. It's been actually not horrible this last few weeks. Like I think it was maybe 60s today. Sunny.
I'm going to add you to my weather app because you can flick up and you can go through cities. So I got my parents where they vacation or anything like that. I like that option just to check out the weather and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah. Got him.
Huh. With that, I think it's time for me to go.
And then cue our funky music, right?
And for more podcasts with the blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities, and give us a call at 612-367-6093. Leave us a message and let us know if we can put your voice on the next podcast. Drop us an email at info@blindabilities.com and download the free Blind Abilities app from the App Store and Google Play Store. That's 2 words, Blind Abilities. And from all of us here at Blind Abilities, through these challenging times, to you, your family, and friends, stay well, stay informed, and stay strong. I want to thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. And until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the realities
of blind abilities.
The realities
of blind
abilities.